Let's start by talking about smartphones. A lot of hype, of course, as always, about new devices here at MWC Barcelona. But the issue is about slowing smartphone sales as well. Are slowing smartphone sales impacting ARM's business in any way?
Well, our business is fundamentally about the volume of ARM-based chips that get sold by our partners. That's been growing steadily over the years, and smartphones do form a large part of that. As over the last few years we've seen a slowing, then obviously in that sector of our business we have seen a slowing there as well. Now, for me though, 5G is a really exciting time because it is going to provide the capability or new capabilities for smartphone users, and hopefully that's going to stimulate more interest in people replacing their handsets and the development of new capabilities, new applications, new use models with which people actually use their phones.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up 5G. Of course, it is again a big theme here at MWC Barcelona, but big questions over the security. Can 5G devices and networks become truly secure before the rollout of 5G, or will it be a case of finding faults as they come up after the rollout?
Well, in a lot of ways, there's nothing different about 5G relative to any of its predecessors in terms of the complexity of the systems and the scope for there being security issues. For our part, we think about the devices themselves. How do you build a secure system on chip? How do you build a secure chip that's inside the device? Whether it's a handset for 5G networks or any of its predecessors, or now with 5G, you've got the capability of many more types of things connected to that network. So we put a lot of work into how you build secure chips for IoT, for connected cars, and how you build a secure software stack on top of that so that data can be encrypted on the device and remain encrypted as it's transmitted through the network.
Yes, in terms of the encrypted data, of course, as you know, one of the shadows that's been cast over MWC Barcelona is the US sort of pushing for some of its allies to drop Huawei from 5G networks on security concerns. Huawei again today has said that those concerns have no evidence. The other thing the Huawei chairman said is that it has not and will not plant back doors in networks. Is it possible for anyone, not any specific company, not Huawei, but is it possible for them via 5G to access data via these backdoors?
Well, again, there's nothing different in that way of 5G relative to 4G. They're incredibly complex systems running a lot of software. It's theoretically possible, of course, to write that software so that data gets filtered out. It could be done. It's going to come down to trust. It's going to come down to testing of devices before they get deployed into networks. But 5G is no different from any of its predecessors in that regard.
Let's talk a little bit as well about possible plans to go public. Is there a plan still to go public for ARM in about 5 years? Of course, you're currently owned by SoftBank. Yeah,
we've been a private company now for about 2.5 years, and it's giving us the opportunity to invest significantly more than we could as a public company. But the plan ultimately is to go public again. We're talking about roughly 5-year time frame for another IPO of ARM. And my focus right now is to use this time that we have to make sure we're developing the technologies for the things that are going to drive growth in the technology sector. And when we look at that, we think about 5G, still at the very early stages of that. It's going to consume a lot more sophisticated silicon devices. We think about autonomous vehicles, we think about IoT, we think about AI broadly as a technology that cuts across many sectors. These are areas where we're innovating, we're going to have products, and they should be coming to fruition around that time frame.
Yes, so you're working on a lot of things, a lot that you want to come to fruition. What specifically do you want to achieve before you get to that IPO? What's your top priority?
Well, it really is about diversification of how our technology is used. Our partners ship a lot of chips based on ARM processors. In the last calendar year, it was about 23 billion chips, and in the last quarter, over 6 billion, which is a record in terms of that volume. But many of those go into phones, many of those go into lots of other things, of course. But it's these new areas of technology growth that are really interesting to us, areas where we're going to have to build more and more sophisticated products. And if we do that successfully over the next couple of years, we should have good growth ahead of us.